So once again, just love the stories, and just thank you for those of you that shared. It really does make so much difference for people that are listening, because you never know whose life you're going to touch and whose life you're going to change. And I love that part of what we do, because it happens to us over and over and over, and it can just keep happening over and over. So tonight, we really we kind of had this little assignment last time, and even if it takes us a couple of these sessions to go through it and people get a chance to interact, we had covered the John Maxwell book, you know, about leadership. He certainly has studied leadership for, I think it's been 40 years. He's written 35 books in that vein. And so there were questions that we were all going to take home, and more or less it's introspection as far as ourselves. If you are joining us for the first time, I should say that my name's Cheryl Cortese, and you all, I think, are my babies out there. Okay, so I'm really, I love this gathering that we can do on Thursday afternoons, evenings, because it is a chance for us to interact. So let's get started. The questions, there were 5 or 6 of them, but I'd like for you to share. I think sometimes when we take and we come across questions like this, which are really, um, I think if you look at and can see yourself and look back on life, we spend our time learning, we spend our time growing, and many times you can take that and even in difficult times, think, well, the good things that came from it were this, so that you can appreciate our gratitude as well. So anyway, he was talking about all the things that expand you in life, and certainly it's our experiences that expand us. And his first question is, what is the greatest lesson you think you have learned in life? That's a big question. I mean, it's one that I felt like I could have almost 3 or 4 or 5 answers to instead of just one, because there are things that, have certainly shaped my life in that regard. But let's see if you can give us some input. And so who wants to start and tell us, because certainly there's a lot of life and experience that's happened on this line. What do you think is the greatest lesson that you've learned in your life? Who wants to start? Anybody want to start? Okay, Shar.
Well, just the first thing that came to mind was the only constant is change.
that's that's true. Thank you for that input. Who else? Give us what do you think is the greatest thing you have learned in your life today? Because it is what we notice and what we see happen to us is what shapes. Yeah. Who's gonna be next? Mickey, would you like to?
Well, Cheryl, I think it's your thoughts are more powerful than you realize, and they build into your beliefs, and then that's what you attract. Because sometimes if I don't hear from someone right away, I start building drama in my mind, and that's not what's going on. So I think you always say, check, how do you put it, that you have to check
Check
your
up from the neck up.
gatekeeper, be the gatekeeper of
Yes,
your mind, right?
Be the
And
gatekeeper of your mind.
but this should be all the time, because sometimes we're not aware of what we're thinking of, negative thoughts, and then that's what we could end up getting back. So I think for me, the greatest thing is how powerful our thoughts really are.
Well, and for both of you, Shar and yourself, I certainly agree. The only thing that's consistent is change. But also, I'm right there with you, Mickey, on, I feel like that's one thing that we don't tend to think about unless somebody brings it to our attention, how powerful our thoughts are, that we do shape our lives with our thoughts. Your mind is where you live, and that's
Yes.
going on. And, at this time in history, especially, really being able to monitor, I found for myself that my job really for myself is to monitor the negative. I've often said that you really need to be, I don't know if I read that somewhere or if it came to me because I've been saying it so many years, you really need to be the gatekeeper at the door of your mind, because, you can't let all that negative influx come in. And it's around us all the time. We live in a world of constant negative news. As Jeff refers that as you have to turn off CNN in your head, that constant negative news, and really, work at what are the things that can bring you um, just positive thought and peace. I took a communications course. It's been a year or two. I guess it's been 2 years now. And one of the things that they were talking about thought and how to program, because you're in control of your thinking, even though we think that you know our minds are in control of us. We're in control of our minds. And it was very interesting because, we tend to remember or report the negative because that's what comes to us in the media all the time. But there was a suggestion that you really pay attention during the day to things that really feel good. And you put like a picture frame around that and catalog it in your head. So things like for me that just as examples, because I've really tried to employ that technique and it's been very helpful. I have a number of them now, but like my grandson, often, I'll be in my room and he'll come in there and sit at my desk and either read or draw or something like that. And he's done that since he was really tiny. He's 10 now and he still does it. And so that picture of him sitting at my desk is one of those things that when I get, meet with frustration or get aggravated or things are negative or I'm dealing with, I say every once in a while, from the South, you say, I'm up to my elbows in alligators. Okay. Something like that. I'm having one of those kind of days. Then I pull out one of those pictures because they feel so good. So we really can do things for ourselves to have little techniques to bring ourselves back to a positive state, because I think our business is one, certainly I know it is, where we're going to have the best results. We're going to have the happiest day if we can be in a positive state. And gratitude helps a lot. Gratitude. Who else would like to give us, if you this assignment, if you've written down?
I would.
Okay, Jocelyn, give it
Hi,
to
Cheryl.
Jocelyn, give it to.
I'm driving. Sorry, guys. I think the biggest lesson I've learned in my life is that life is really short and you never know when you're going to go. And this, like what was said, your thoughts are so powerful. You can have anything you want in this life, but you have to be willing to change your thoughts and feel differently and make yourself feel good every day to be able to go after everything you want, and anything's possible.
And again, that's right in that. And again, that's right in that. Is that we do. You read that often. You want to live every moment to the fullest. You want to, reach for the happiness, reach for the joy, and especially in these times, it can be something that you have to work at. But that's okay, because the more frequently you do it, the better you get. Who else is going to share with us? What do you feel like?
I would like, oh,
Okay,
I
go
would
right
like to
ahead.
go. Well, there's two of them. One is that a little kindness goes a very long way,
Mhm.
and that your mind doesn't really care what you think. It's just going to go where you go. So you have to be, like we've heard, you have to be the gatekeeper. Your mind doesn't. So whether it's positive or negative, your mind's going to go there. It's that saying that says, if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right.
Either way, that's great, because that's a great way to describe it. Your mind's going to go where you let it go, so you're in control. That's when you realize that. I think that makes a big difference as well, is that you are in control. So thank you for both of those, for that input. Who else would like to share with us what you feel like is the greatest thing you've ever learned? It could be one or two or three things. I mean, I feel like there are a number. Maybe it's because I've been around here a long time. I don't know, but I know for me, one of them is that for the most part, people don't change unless they choose to. I think that I come across many times situations I have in my life, whether it's family or even with my team members, I feel like they want it. And if I can just help them, or if I can help them change such and such, life's going to be so much better for them. And what I have learned is that people go right back to where they're, if we say your mind goes where your thinking is, they go right back to where they were unless they decide to change. And so it's helped me a lot to figure that out, because then, I'm there to support if need be, but that I'm not the one who can make the difference and change unless the person chooses to. And that's been big for me as far as learning experience. Who else? Something that you feel like you've learned that's made a difference for you?
Cheryl,
Mhm.
I think, I've had a lot of time to be mindful and think about life and think about others and think about where my life has been. But I think when you're grateful for everything every day, that breeds compassion for other people who are not in the same place as you.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
You,
found, I'll say this too, is that the one thing, if I can say one thing that's brought me the greatest happiness on a consistent basis, is when I'm really practicing gratitude. Is that something, Joanna, you found as well, that it really puts you in a state, no matter what's going on, and you have to work at it. But is that what you found too? Is that,
yeah,
Joanna?
because so many years, you're busy with work, you're busy with kids, you're busy here and there, and you don't stop
Right.
and think about others, and you're maybe not as compassionate about others and their lives. But when you come to a place where gratitude is such a big part of your life, daily part of your life, you become more compassionate about others.
And I think empathy comes into that too, as you really keep yourself in a positive state. And as I said, gratitude for me is that's my go-to, you might say, as far as trying to bring myself back if I get freaked out or if I get upset or if I get whatever. But I think it also helps you as far as empathy is concerned, which is so important. And that's what you're talking about too, as far as compassion is, understanding how that other person might feel, even though it might be a difficult situation that you're in with them. So thank you. Anyone else?
Cheryl, can you hear me? It's Amy.
Hi, hi.
Hi. Well, thank you for the whole program this evening and everyone's wonderful gems. I have a few that you all kind of sparked as I was listening. The first two are really related. One is that we all need to be mentored along the way. And I think that's been true of my whole life, but especially in this business, I really see the power of mentoring and growing into that role. And related to that is this vision that I was given long ago, that we're all kind of like a cup. We have a certain capacity, but if we want to grow, we have to empty the cup. And the more we empty ourselves out, the bigger the cup grows. And eventually, if you keep giving, the bottom falls out. And then you're just kind of like channeling all the time and, not thinking of yourself so much, but just being present and responding to what's there. And the other last one, to me, has had a tremendous amount of power. And it's the phrase, it comes from Isabel Hickey. She said, absent from the appearance is present with the power. And simply means that things are not always what they appear to be. And so we have to be careful monitoring ourselves to be, how are we judging the situation? Take some time and consider that there may be unseen forces, there may be things going on below and behind the scenes, behind the surface. We never know what somebody's concerns are. We have to really take that time to listen and be present with them.
And also powerful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Who else? Thank you so much, Amy. Who else would like to share with us? Don't
Hey,
be shy.
Cheryl.
Hi there, Dave. How you doing?
Awesome, Cheryl.
Welcome.
There's so many things when we're talking about this, I just go, how much time do you have? And I know we only have just a short
We
time
got
to
5 more minutes.
respond. But some of the things that really have struck me is that we attract who we are. And we can't, if we want to attract more, we have to become more. A second thing that comes to mind for me personally is that in order to attract better, this sense of servant leadership is very, very critical for, because I can't honor the other person more unless I see them as more. And I think that those would be two if I on my long list. And I think once we're whole with ourselves, complete with who we are, and I would use the term as we're created to be. I think that those things, once we become a complete version of ourselves, then we could become a complete version to others. So those would be three on a list that's really long.
Those are three good ones, okay? Because I do, we've said that in this business so long, and I know it's in life in general, but you attract your own, and people tend to attract whatever they feel and believe. And so again, introspection can be a really good thing sometime, as you said, because I think we're all in the process of growing into our the highest and best that we can be. One of the things I've said often in this business as well as in life, I want to live at the highest edge of my physical, mental, spiritual, financial, emotional existence. I want to reach that highest edge. And that is, a work in progress all the time for us. And so I was talking, I think, with I want to say it was Jennifer Myers today, who's one of my sideline national marketing directors. She's been with our company as long as I have. I've been here will be 34 years in January. And we were saying today, said, if you look at our experience with this company, it's almost like it's a replication of life in a sense. Like a lot of the things we go through really are things that would be life lessons as well as a business and business growth, that it represents life in so many different ways. So yes, you do attract your own. Who else? We have another few minutes here, and we'll continue with this next week because there are quite a few questions here. There are about 5 or 6. And I think that, it is nice once in a while to pause and realize, we have more control, we have more brain power, we have more intuitive power. There's so much more to us sometimes than we give ourselves credit for. And our potential is always so much greater. I feel like we're entities of very untapped. There's a huge amount in us that's untapped in all areas. As far as our growth in this life. Who else would like to share?
Cheryl,
Yay, Rose.
so many good ones. Oh my gosh. I guess to add to it, to me, action is everything, everything. If you're not stretching, you're compressing, so I just keep trying to stretch myself every day.
And that's great. And that's also a characteristic of entrepreneurism. The entrepreneurial personality always wants to have that next thing to reach for, that next thing to reach for. It's kind of what feeds that energy, which is a great thing. It's one of the reasons I love entrepreneurism, because you're striving for the next, the next goal, the next joy, the next, what is it that is going to enhance those things that we've talked about, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the financial. All of those. When we look at books, and I thought I had it laying here, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, or Think Yourself Rich, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. What Napoleon Hill in particular talks about is that you look at the riches of a balanced and complete life. And maybe that's what Jennifer and I were talking about today, is that there are ways to draw in our business in all of those areas. So again, it's always reaching is a very powerful thing, and you have to be in action to do that. Who else? Anybody else here? We'll take another couple of minutes and before we close, and then we'll get back to it next week. Who else would like to share?
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, how are you? Well, for me, I would definitely say being persistent and never giving up on those you love.
And that goes for life and for business, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's persistence is a very, very powerful thing. If again, that being well-intended and keeping other people's best interests at heart, and you have to be, they have to meet you halfway too. but I think persistence is something that we see really pay off for people in all areas, whether it's business, whether it's personal, if done with, really other people's best interests at heart, it's a wonderful quality to have. Who else? Anyone? I know one of the other things too that and this has been some time back, the realization one day that not everybody thought exactly like I did. I don't know. I must have been really young then when I thought everybody thinks the same way. And then it dawned on me that not everybody thought the same way. And so, I realized I could have that kind of unconditional positive regard for other people. They were entitled to think as they wanted to think, to do as they wanted to do without my judgment, but I was entitled for the same. And that was a bit of awakening at that point as well. Who else? Anyone else before we close?
I would just like to say, as one who's actually been through a kind of hell, that if you're going through hell, you find yourself going through hell, keep going. Find a way to keep going, because eventually you'll come out. But having been through terrible things in my life, I just want to remind you, when you're going through hell, find a way to keep going. That's all.
And that's amazing, and you would think it would sound simple, but it's not. But it's such good advice. And I think when we come to this next question, or one of these questions here over the next time or two, is, how do these things really shape you? Because, Sam, I think about the times, and I think we all get a few opportunities in life to visit hell, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, because it's not fortunate when you're there, it doesn't feel like it, but usually there's something on the other side that made it worth it. But I love that. Just keep going, because you're going to come out on the other end for sure. Well, let's see. We maybe take 2 more minutes here, and then because we're a little over time. But anybody else want to share? Anyone? Don't be shy. Tell us.
Hi, Cheryl, it's Barbie. And there's so many good ones. And thank you, everybody who's shared. One of mine is let love be your guide. And that includes ourselves too. And also, and even get to the point where we can love the no's and the disappointments. We know that we're going through the process, and we have such a beautiful vehicle for loving on people.
And that's also a beautiful sentiment. Let love be your guide, because and I really love the interaction here, because we hear things, and like today, we're hearing things that maybe we know or we've heard, and some of these things too, they feel like, well, I knew that, but to really think about it and integrate it is so powerful for you, and it's powerful for your business. I think that's the other thing. Sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for all the things that are empowering to us, that we have learned or picked up in our lives, usually by whatever, well, definitely by whatever experiences we've had. But they do give us greater capacity to interact with other people in ways that are really positive and have a positive outcome. So we're a bit past time, but we're going to continue with this next week, if you all like. And the questions, I'll give them to you one more time again, so that, and it was the first one we've covered today: greatest lesson you think you've learned so far in life. And like I said, for me, I couldn't list just one, but there are the highlights. And if I were you, if you haven't taken time to do this, write them for yourself, because again, sometimes the viewing of maybe something you kind of knew but never really thought about or didn't acknowledge yourself for, we go through life without acknowledging the things that either we've learned or we're good at, or that have served us well, that have come along during our lifetime. And I think we all need to get to that point where we do say, okay, I can acknowledge myself for that, or realizing, that that we all have things that way, like that. So the other question, what are you learning right now? You know, I'll give you a hint. For me, I think I'm learning patience. Okay, patience is what I'm sure I'm trying to work on. Okay, in so many areas. You know, also boundaries. How do I have boundaries that serve me and yet, you know, are kind and honorable to other people? You know, there are just a lot of things as far as what are we learning right now within our businesses, within our lives. What are we learning? The other is, how has difficulty shaped your life? How do you think it's made you different? I'm sure Sam going through hell a few times. There've been, you know, some reshaping as that happened, and for all of us, I'm sure there have been things like that. And these things do influence how you interact with others, how you change and go forward in your life. How has failure shaped your life? And I think all of us, you know, have certainly experienced in some areas different measures of failure. And how has that made your life different? And the last one is, how has success shaped your life? Because, you know, we're talking about putting a frame around those memories that you want to pull out and enjoy. We've all had successes too, and they're in very different areas many times. It doesn't have to be just, you know, a business success, or, you know, maybe an athletic competition success. I'm afraid I couldn't have any. I never had too much success in any of the athletic competitions. I'm not very athletic. But, you know, for you, what were the successes? What are the successes? What are the things you're reaching for? But how have the successes shaped your life as well? So we're going to close with that. And, you know, we closed out a good month as an organization. I will share with you all, I had a wonderful call today, a founder's call with Stuart, who is our new CEO. And I really feel, I really wish I knew how to convey to you in words. You know, we have some things that are, you know, little issues. They don't feel little when they're happening, like our digital, you know, getting all that just right. And, you know, things that we're trying to really shape up and get better at. But as far as our future, after that call today, I couldn't be more energized. I couldn't be happy. I was practically, and I'm not one of those people that cry, you know, usually, but I felt a little teary almost, because, you know, I look at 34 years and realize that, you know, this 34 years laid a foundation for my business to continue really successfully, and the company recognizing and really being in there to do what we need to do to step into the future for the higher good of all of us. But that there's an amazing, there's just going to be an amazing future for this company. And if you'll just trust me, from my heart to yours, we couldn't be in a better place with better people. And Stuart Kronagi is our new CEO, she's just amazing. I really today couldn't have been more impressed, and I just wanted to pass that on, because there will be good things coming. And I'm really excited about it. So let's, you know, really enjoy and take advantage of this week as far as sharing your stories, your product stories, your business stories. Wrap your arms around people, you know, love on them. I think everybody needs that right now, as far as just, you know, reaching out and just, you know, let people know you care. I think that's one of the things that really makes a difference as far as our business is concerned, is that we are people who are positioned to do that with what we do, with our product and with the business opportunity. We have a lot to offer, but I think the main thing we have to offer is that we are very generous spirited toward other people. We care about people, and it's a good time to exercise that. So I'll look forward to seeing everybody next week, hearing you on the Monday night call, and we'll continue this discussion then. Okay? Bye, folks.
Good night, Cheryl. Thank you.
Good night, Ruth.
Good night. Thank you.
Good
Good night. Thank you so much. Wonderful call.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Sai.
Blessings.
Oh,
Great
thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Great call.